Yes, we're going to get into our case study. This is a retail data set from just a large retailer, and we kind of see instantly when we look at a few items. We chose a fairly small subset of items here, but we look at a few items and we see there's some irregular seasonalities. So you can look at this data, and it does look, you see a very clear seasonal pattern in these items, but then you see at some points you have, um, big structural breaks. You have big peaks here indicative of price, dropping, or consumer demand just shooting up erratically. And just generally you have some irregularities. And we're going to see
Right.
how these different models can interact. So first, we're going to look at basically build out a scenario. So we want to build out a story. We're in a large retailer and we want to run an experiment. So we're going to simulate forecasts over a year in 4 13-week folds that are independent of one another. So we're going to cover a whole year worth of this retailer's history, and we're going to have two competitors. So here we have, on one side, we're going to take a statistical model and we're going to say, okay, we're going to use this statistical model plus we are going to apply those planar adjustments we talked about. So if we see an item dropping in price, we'll apply the relative demand adjustment up or down. And then same thing with both this first model, which is a linear time series model that's very popular in supply chain software, and then also triple exponential smoothing, which is kind of a very strong benchmark, a very beloved forecasting method, and it works very well. So,
Yeah.
and then here on the other end, we have a machine learning model. So the machine learning model is going to use different features or different predictors, which might be past values of an item's demand, categories from our product hierarchy, relationships that we were talking about. That'll help it capture those global relationships, and then also, of course, an item's price, which the price could change, like we mentioned, and so it'll see those price adjustments. And so what we can ask ourselves, does demand planner adjustment improve the forecast? That's question one, right? From a baseline. And there's been some studies on this, but in our own empirical case, we're going to look at that. And then we're also going to say, can machine learning outperform traditional methods? And if so, is that performance, worth the squeeze? Is it really something to behold, or is it just a very small difference that might not justify the complexity of these systems? And so, like we talked about briefly, we talked about some information that we can include in the machine learning model on a higher level. If we're to get a bit more granular, machine learning really does have this amazing capability of, if you have the data in the right format, which is the rare part, right? If you have the quality of data that we need, your limit can be your imagination at times. So we can incorporate past price. If you have future price data in your supply chain, you can also incorporate future price and markdowns. And so the model might know in the future when a markdown is coming and adjust the forecast accordingly. For example, days leading up to. And of course, if you have price, I kind of put down some features that might allow the model to, better differentiate between items. So this could be something like an item price subtracted from the mean or the median of the category, or the item categories price as a feature. All these things can essentially help either better relate your model or your item to a given category, or better differentiate it, which will obviously alter the forecast, hopefully in the right direction, right? So
Right.
that's what we're looking for. And then, of course, holidays and markdowns, you can add holiday or markdown features, and these features can have something they used in the M5 competition, which was forecasting Walmart's supply chain. They used things like days until Christmas or days until Thanksgiving, which are more advanced representations that you can't necessarily use in statistical models. And so those are also, on the table to really improve and take the forecast accuracy to the next level. So that's kind of a general lay of the land of, hey, what can we do to make this model the best it can be?